Today we're going to address the lesson 2, personality, essence, and ego. So, personality, it is formed from the 0 to the 7 years of age. From the moment that we come into this world, from the moment that your parents have given you that name, keeping in mind that the personality, it has its moment when it's born and it has its end when we die. The personality is what goes to the tomb with our physical body. And that personality stays there until the disintegration of our physical body.
After we die, our personality goes to the cemetery with our physical body. Sometimes it can be seen roaming around the tomb. However, this is not the person, only a memory of the deceased one. The essence, our soul, continues its journey into another existence.
So, that personality is formed from the 0 to the 7 years of age, and then it grows stronger as we grow older. And depending on the environment that we are brought up, that personality can be formed according to that. If we are exposed to an environment of love, well-cared, harmonious environment, our personality will then result in somebody with rectitude, a person of a good character. Now, as opposed to that, if that personality is surrounded or it grows in an environment with hatred, lack of harmonious relationship, and envies, that personality unfortunately will develop in the same way. The same way it happens with the ego. We're going to talk a little bit more about the ego in a little while. Nowadays, with the invention of the TV, for instance, most of the children, all they think about is cannons, pistols, and games, and things that they see broadcasted on the TV. A husband does not talk to his wife anymore about their daily routine, because mostly the women is just concentrated on the latest dance or on the latest fashion. And unfortunately, the TV has brought the lack of a harmonious relationship within the home. Nowadays, it's common that we have a TV in each room. We also know that the children learns a lot more from the examples of the adults rather than what is being taught. So the adults are responsible to develop a personality into a child. That child learns by the example. For example, if a telephone rings and the child, which is normal to run to answer the phone, the father says behind him, "Tell that I'm not home." So that child learns that example, and that is a bad influence to that child. He's learning how to be a liar. It is important that we keep that in mind, and if we want our children to be polite, to be well-cared, to be loving, it is important that we give them that kind of example. It is important that we watch the way we live so that they can learn from our examples and not from what we say or what we tell them to do.
A perfect equilibrium between personality and essence, the harmonious development of thought, emotion, and movement, and a revolutionary ethics are what constitute the basis of the fundamental education.
Talking a little bit more about the essence. The essence is the divine spark that we have within. Most people got flabbergasted when we say we do not have soul. Well, we have a spark. We have all the possibilities. But it is important that we create that soul. We haven't had it created yet. The essence is conscience, is an alert, is an awakened state, is a state of awakeness. So the essence is somehow buckling or imprisoned by the ego that manifests through the personality. The ego uses the personality to manifest, to have its wishes granted.
The human personality is only a marionette controlled by invisible strings. Evidently, each one of these egos puts in our minds what we must think, in our mouths what we must say, and in our hearts what we must feel, etc.
So, we have covered a little bit about the personality, and I assume that you have no doubts by now. But should you have any doubts, of course, there is a literature that can support on that, and that literature goes on the fundamental education by Mr. Samael Aung-Weor. In that book, just by reading that book, we will learn that there are many aspects of the personality that it's just an illusion of what we are.
Before all else, it is necessary to comprehend the multiplicity of the personality. The personality is multiple in itself.
Well, the essence, like I said, the essence is conscience, right? Is an alertness. The essence is what we are, is our divine heart. But that conscience is not completely free yet. We have to work on ourselves so we can free that conscience, so we can expand and awake that consciousness.
The essence is what we really are. It is eternal and never dies. It is the innate and purest thing that we have within us.
And how do we nourish the conscience? How do we nourish our essence? Of course, we know that we need to nourish our physical body, right? Same way we have to nourish our physical body, we also have to nourish our essence. Because our essence, our conscience, needs to be fed. It needs to be healthy. And how do we do that? Well, contemplating nature. Who hasn't had the experience of being on a stressful day and then just walk through nature and then feel revigorated and feel more at ease, feel more peace with yourself? I'm sure that we all have had such experiences. And it is not much to say that the more we are in contact with nature, the better we feel. The more we contemplate a sunset or a sunrise, it gives us some sort of inner peace, some sort of a harmonious state with ourselves. And that inner state, it is considered like nourishment for that essence, for that conscience. I'm sure that we all have a park in contact with nature, listening to the birds, watching the sunset. We all know that when we are in touch with nature, we don't need much, right? That is enough for us to go through the day. And again, we are in no hurry to get out of that place either, right? So I'm sure we have had that experience. By doing that, by acting like that, by feeding the essence and the conscience like that, we will then have a more harmonious inner state. We will not be in a state of anxiety or stressful things that we consider normal nowadays, right?
Human beings have 3% free essence, and the other 97% is imprisoned within the egos. A percentage of our essence is liberated when a defect is disintegrated.
So we all know that we need to release the essence from the ego that maintains it imprisoned. Now, the ego, according to the Tibetan religion, the ego is called the psychic adjunct, or according to Buddhism, the psychological defects. And according to Christianism, we know it as the capital sins. So these defects is something that we carry along, and sometimes they even come from previous lives. We can work and release our essence. We can radically change our lives. Of course, it requires some effort. People usually misunderstand the fact that the essence will develop naturally as the natural course of development. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. The essence will develop only up to a certain point. And then the personality takes over. The ego takes over. And your essence remains imprisoned, enslaved of these defects. And that's why we cannot express our divine part constantly on our daily lives. What usually hurts is the ego. What usually needs to do something or to acquire something is the ego. The psychological defects, the capital sins, the psychic adjuncts. And these also can manifest in our daily lives. So, it is important to know that the personality is everything that we thought we were. But in reality, we don't know what we are. So, we have to work on ourselves so we can, again, get to know ourselves. Because in reality, we don't know who we are. We are not this personality that we think we are. And for that, there is a practice, which is the observe and the observant. Now, you would ask me, well, how do I observe the observant? Well, it is important that we divide ourselves in two. One part that observes and the other part that is observant. And then you will ask, who observes? Well, that's the point. The essence observes. And who is observant? Well, usually we observe the desire we need to be fulfilled. We observe who is hurt, who is complaining. And who is that? That is the ego. That is the defect that is manifesting through our personality. So, in order to apply this practice during the day, every time there is something that you are about to complain, try to observe yourself. Try to observe what is it that you need, or who needs that. So, if it's clear that our personality is what we think we are, then this class has reached its goal.
When someone begins to look at himself from the point of view that he is not one, but many, he really begins to work on all that he carries inside.
Okay, so I hope to see you for the next lesson, which will be the awakening of consciousness, the number 3. And don't forget to practice during the day so that you can see some results. And keeping in mind that Gnosis, it's a science that you apply in yourself and you see the results. Thanks for watching.